All right.
Okay.
You're all set?
All set.
Okay. I'm Sarah from Align with Sarah, and I'm here with Catie from Conscious Catie. We have such creative names for our YouTube channels. I love it. They just flow right off the tongue. So we talked to Catie just not that long ago in November, and she is so awesome to spend her time with us just in general. And then also throughout this holiday season, we connected like Thanksgiving. And here we are, like on the other side of the big snowball of the holiday season, the 3rd of January. So I feel like we've had probably, I know I have had a ton of experiences arriving. And I've been so grateful that we connected to this thought of contrast when we were talking with Catie in November. She had mentioned it right at the end of our conversation, and it was like, felt so important. And here I am, what is it, like 6 or something weeks later, where this is still really stewing and growing. And it feels like a very predominant awareness, and I don't even want to call it a life lesson. I feel like it is like a directional shift in my thinking more than um, a lesson. Feels like it's too superficial. It feels like it feels pretty deep inside. Um, we were talking a little bit before we hit record here about how this the piece of wellness that I talk so much about, where I focus on an aspect of my own personal growth and share that with the theme of the content that I put out there. Um, December, it was contrast, and it's evolved into this thought of the contrast, just like the good day and the bad day, create something more. They complement each other, and they create this third thing or this fifth thing or this 900th thing, that there's so much more than just like the black and the white. And Catie got the memo with her yin and her yang sweater that she's wearing, um, where it just was beautiful that that showed up. But like, so when we think about something basic like that, I feel like that yin and the yang, we have, the black and the white very traditionally, and then we can have these contrasts in our mind of, I had already mentioned the good day and the bad day. We have Catie, when we were just chatting a little bit before to kind of prime our thinking, she talked about life and death. We um, have the yes and the no, but then we forget that I think my concept of this like complement, this complementary experience, was where my thinking is going for my piece of wellness for this month, is how many more things do those two things make? The good day and the bad day, the life and the death, of how much, there's so much more in between them. And there's so much more that we can engage in the life, the death, the yes, the no, the black, the white, the this thing or the that thing, when we're in one of them and remembering the other. So
Mm.
it's like, I want to say it's melting my brain, but I'm going to choose the word, it's softening my brain.
Oh, yes. I love
And
that.
then, Catie, I'm going to have you share your thoughts on this. And the word softening, I feel like I've said melting my brain, even on Let's Talk Tuesday. I think last night, I think I was saying it's melting my brain. And I found my sticky note super magically. It was in the living room for whatever reason. Um, and it is this quote from Lao Tzu, who is talking about the difference between softness and hardness. And quote is, the softest of things in the world overcome the hardest things in the world. Through this I know, um, oh, okay, I lost my train of thought and I'm reading this. I don't know. I just did that. All right. Through this I know the advantage of taking no action. And I think this brings in the extra thought of the being and the doing, which is, I think we talked about that a little bit with our time together last time, and how we need to be doing both of them, and it creates something else. So if that's not enough for you to talk about, Catie, then I will keep going till the end of time, probably. But I imagine that there's a lot of things bubbling up in your brain. So I'm going to offer this to you to share your thoughts.
Mm. The first thing that's arising for me to talk about is that, like you mentioned, there's so many realms that we could look at this contrast, these spectrums, these polarities, seeming opposites, because that is the nature of this realm, that we come to learn from the contrast, to learn from the polarity, not that one side is objectively good or bad, but we come to walk our middle path. And I think this is what Lao Tzu means when he says we soften into our position within all of the contrast, within all of the dualities, that we can be in the non-doing, which is living in our harmony, which, because we each have a unique perspective, a unique body, it's going to, we're going to land somewhere on all of these spectrums of life. But I guess the main thing that comes through is that we are here to learn from the contrast what we want to experience and what we are leaving behind, what we let go of. And I think this can, as you bring in that concept of softening, I just love, love, love this so much, because as we go, I think we start, especially, in the Western societies, that there's such an external idea of what we should be going to, what is objectively right and wrong. So coming into our middle path is about softening those judgments, softening those objective, I'm right, you're wrong, this is the way it is, that is not the way it is, to see that we all have a very unique perspective on the way that it is. And the more that we can soften those internal polarities, those internal judgments, to kind of exist in the gray area, to be accepting that life is a big gray area, that we can become more aligned with what is our truth, whereas our path is taking us, and let what is not on that path, let us soften into it. Let that fall away, or, let ourselves move through that.
And I think I love that you had mentioned the learning part of it, because I think that we can't learn when we are hardened off, because I feel like that creates this space of like, this is what I know, and I'm going to find people that know what I know, and we're all going to think the same thing together. And then we can all be like stacked next to each other. And then this experience of being arriving for learning, whether we're learning from our environment of like nature outside of our windows, or maybe you're in the thick of it where you're living in nature, um, or just the people that are around us. I feel like there is so much to learn about our internal environment, our awareness, our perspective, um, and when we get an honest take of, well, what am I noticing? What is my perspective? What are these people doing? Why am I blaming everyone else for all of my problems when I'm just recognizing like, oh, I'm inviting these people into my life and I'm here to learn from them, not necessarily like, wisdom that they're throwing at me, but I can learn from why they're here. Yeah, I can learn from, do I find comfort in their negativity? Do, is there a part of me that gets bristled about it? Like, well, why am I bristled about it? Oh, because I feel like I'm not learning. I feel like I'm going the opposite way. I feel like I'm hardening. And I think um, there was something, what the heck was I listening to? Oh, The Untethered Soul, and talking about the flow of energy of our body. And the the author gets into a lot of what I believe with the emotion code and the body code, and even Chinese medicine with the effects of the organ system, the organs and the organ systems on our emotions. Those are hormonal molecules dumped into our bloodstream create a vibe. They create our emotion that we are experiencing. It changes our vibration. And when we can imagine those things, those memories are trauma. Those memories could be awesome. Those memories can be something in between, right? We're talking about the more than just this or that, the two extremes. uh, they create this feeling inside of us, and that feeling can get stuck somewhere. And I imagine it as kind of like it creates this like net of awareness, like this like fishing net, where we're going to be subject to catching more of that energy, whether it's joy or frustration. And then we become weighed down by it because we're holding this, it's stuck inside of us. And so like that's kind of my analogy of it. And then The Untethered Soul, this book gets into, I can't remember the name. I want to say it's Singer is the,
Michael
no,
Singer.
is it Michael Singer? Okay, I was going to say
Yes,
that. Um,
Michael P. Singer.
And they talk about how you don't even have to really identify the trauma, the emotion, the whatever. That gets into I think those extremes, and I think it gets into maybe places that people don't want to go. And the advice is, if you feel yourself hardening, you need to do invest your energy in letting it go, so you can
Mhm.
actually feel the softening. Where I hear every single day from people of, let's give some attention to the upper bodies. I carry all my stress here. And so many people use those words. And I think it's this subconscious, just kind of overflow of recognizing somatic tissue has this memory to it. It's responding to the stress, it's responding to our perception of our environment that is igniting the stress response in our body. And I think when we pay attention to, I feel like our body is going to do what it needs to do to get our attention, to get our mind and our heart, our spirit, whatever the combination of what you imagine our self with a capital S is made of. I feel like it's going to do what it needs to do until it gets our attention, and then we have, this shoulder that won't let go, this neck pain, the headaches, the digestion issues. And then you were mentioning like the very physical experience that we have here on earth, where if we're not engaged in the learning and understanding it's more than just the physical, if we stay on that plane of physical, then we start treating the organ, treating the symptom,
Mhm.
really just like tapping around at the top of the tree, where the root of the problem is, the thinking and the hormone toxicity of that emotion that's stuck inside, the memory that's stuck inside, the memory that is, the glasses, and it has hold of the steering wheel of life, and the gas pedal, the throttle, the all of that is governing our life. And we become so what's the word I want to say? I feel like it's like we either feel great or we don't. And so we forget all of the like micro improvements along the way. And
Oof.
I think the conventional medicine wants to just take us from, here to here. where, oh, look, you have this dysfunction, we cut that organ out. Let's end of the day, it's gone. It was a problem, where it's really just like, well, now, now what? Now, how is my body going to talk to me? How am I going to get up off of that operating table and move forward in my life differently? If I'm going to jump right back into the cesspool, I'm going to start smelling like a cesspool. I'm going to be living in the cesspool. And it's just this, what's the next thing that's going to try to get my attention, my awareness that there's more to life than just this, the stress, the cesspool, the yuck. And there's more to my living than just the physical organs, because they're all going to be here when something happens, hopefully, millennia away, something's going to happen. And, the heart isn't going to make that electric charge. The brain isn't going to have the electric current in between my thinking, my memories, and all those organs are still going to be there. So like, what the heck is the difference? And I think when we think of that, we can think of that experience of death as this enlightening, like, yeah, like, well, what is going to be different? So like maybe now I can live my life a little bit differently with this awareness that like, what's the in between of all of that function? What's the in between of all of that, everything, all of that, what do I want to say, like how everything just works together. And I don't have to think like, okay, brain, now we're going to take a deep breath, and we're going to breathe. And then that's going to like oxygenate my blood. And then I'm going to push my blood out. There's all of the stuff that's just happening. That is this like incredible miracle every day that I think the duality of life and death, that those two extreme experiences, I feel like even that can be negative, but it could also be really enlightening. And it can also be the thing that makes people aware of the magic of like, yeah, how is this even happening? Really?
Mm.
Okay, I'm
Oh,
talking too much, so I'm gonna stop talking.
that's beautiful. And what's just coming up is how one of my favorites, Ram Dass, talks about the terrible beauty of it all. As we open ourselves up to more of the world, we can see the horrible perfection, the terrible beauty, that it's all of it here. And that I think when we get stuck on focusing on these surface level things like you're describing, when we have, physical things that are manifesting in our lives, it can be hard to go beneath that surface level, that physical, to see that our soul, the part of us that transcend this body, or even if you just think about it in, our most pure essence, our energy, is having this experience for some growth, that it's actually for us, that if you go beneath just the surface level of seeing, there is a wider eye that sees all, that sees how all of our experiences play into this magical tapestry of life. And the more that we are able to soften into our experience and say, oh, yeah, maybe right now I'm only perceiving thoughts that are saying this is bad. Going to, again, the duality, that perspective in duality, good or bad, that this is bad. But let's like use this opportunity to think about something in our lives that once we labeled as bad, that ended up being the best thing that could have happened. Whether that means the death of a relationship, whether that means, an ending of a job or getting fired, whatever that thing that at the time felt like your world is crumbling, that it actually gives birth to something greater. And I think that is the perspective that allows us to transcend the when we're in it. Because trust me, I know how deep, when another thing that I wanted to bring up is understanding ourselves as waves, that this is a natural law of the universe, that everything is in constant motion and vibration, and we are experiencing the lows and then the highs, the fear, the doubt, and then the clarity. And to know that we're not linear beings, so that it's not just going like this forever, we're actually learning. So when we go through that low, when we think this is the worst thing ever, and then we move through it in time, the next low, we have a little bit more strength, a little bit more awareness that we have harnessed from that previous, from those other low parts of the wave, that the less that we resist, right? Saying this is a bad thing. I don't want this to happen. Part of the saying, what we resist persists. So what we soften into, what we allow, we actually ride through with more efficiency. So the essence of this is to say that really the lows are serving us also. And when we can see that our perspective that this is bad, I don't want this to happen, is just limited, it might be guiding us somewhere, but maybe there is a higher reason that we're having this experience, because it's drawing us towards what we really want, what the learning into grow into the essence of who we are really here to be. Then we can allow these experiences of life, which are naturally happening, with more softness, with less resistance to it.
The less, that is definitely the theme. And the softness thing. I feel like all these things we're talking about, it's like, yeah, the softness, yeah, the softness. And I think it's grown my thinking of where the contrast has like developed into this like the complementing and the how can I complement this energy with more softness? Like, how can I complement this struggle with more softness? Like, those are the thoughts that are going through my mind. And I love that you like keep going back also to the learning. I think learning from, I think it's easy to like absorb and engage in the good times, like the happy, the winning lotto ticket, the whatever it is, the thing that is like the good day. The bad day, the struggle offers us, I think, this opportunity to absorb it in a different way and engage in it with the learning that is aware, where um, I think this takes a little bit of time for people to settle in. I think more now that we're kind of like past this whole thing, but with 2020 to 2023, with the awareness of like the germs and the changing with our regular interactions with people, I began, I would say probably in 2022, of like hitting my tolerance of like if somebody blames this like an acronym on one more thing, I think I'm gonna just like crawl back in bed and be done with my day because I can't take it anymore with this whole thing. And I hit my threshold of like, oh wait, this is, and I hit my threshold, and then I thought, okay, I'm supposed to be learning something here. This like annoyed frustration or whatever this thing is inside of me, lots of different things inside of me. I'm supposed to be learning something here. And it turned into this really great opportunity for me to have this conversation and say, well, what do you miss most about 2019?
Mm.
Well, do that right now because we have these opportunities. Find a way to do that thing. Find a way to bring that back into your life. Find a way to talk about the thing you miss, not the thing that is the frustration, not the thing that is the the lid that kind of like squelches the flame of life. talk about the flame of life so that can come back, that can be reborn, that can be re-engaged in, find that light again, where it's the contrast of what we don't have anymore,
Mhm.
gives us the opportunity of appreciating the thing that's not there anymore.
Mm.
And in the blog post for December, I get into comparing three different emotions and how they come from a very similar experience where I don't have this, and my thinking, my perspective dumps these emotions, these hormones into my system. I have the emotion of uh, jealousy, sadness. I talk a lot about some sadness. I talk about depression a little bit, and how they come from this experience of I don't have this. You have this, I don't have this, versus I used to have this and now I don't have it anymore. And we can understand that that's an emotion. I don't even want to say just an emotion, because sometimes we don't have people anymore and we have to go through this process of grieving, which is going to be a process different for everybody. And as we go through that, I believe those different layers of grief or even just sadness in general are ways that our mind and our body and our spirit are kind of coming together to acknowledge, like, it hurts over here too. Okay,
Mm.
let's give that a little bit of attention over here. And then, maybe it's the mind's turn to say, I remember, this person gave me this mug, and guess what? I have the memory, I have the mug, I have love, I have all of these things. So now I have to engage in what's still here with this appreciation to complement my experience with the person that might not be here anymore. And I think it comes down to, what am I letting go? What am I holding on to? How soft am I going to be with my own needs? How soft am I going to be with the experience of keeping the intention of, I want to heal. I want to get through this. I want to be able to engage in pictures and memories and the stuff floating around my house that I want to get to a point where I can let love flow again. I don't want to stay hard, you know, feel like it hurts too much to look at this, or um, it is, it is not fair. It is all of those things that might come up. It might, it does suck. It does this. It does that. Whatever. But at the end of the day, there is this overall experience of, I'm still here. The
Mm.
memories are still here. Even some of the things are still here. So when we celebrate those things and recognize, um, I love this. I think it's I don't know what it is, a poem about death. And I still struggle. This is probably like 3, 4, 5 months later, still struggle with this, saying it without getting all choked up. But uh, when there is nothing of me, when there's nothing, when I am not here, give love away. So the essence of this poem is that at some point I am not going to be here, but love is still going to be here. And that's how you keep what's left of me alive, because my love is eternal. The love people have for me is eternal. And when we continue to engage in that love process, appreciation, complementing the experience of life that was involved, we get to a point where we can be soft and
Mm.
engage in memories, be soft and talk about things that used to feel hard. And now they can have processed through, and now we have love left. So I sort of lost track of what I have
Mm.
my note here on my page. Nothing to do with what I'm talking about. but but I guess
Let
I'm
it
gonna
flow.
just sort of
Yeah.
stay there. But that experience of the softening and, oh, the letting go, that's the part. And when we understand, I think, tying in the letting go and the lesson, the learning part of it all, um, where, yeah, that the worst day is going to teach us something so that we can create our best day. And our best day is going to teach us something that's going to get us through the worst day or help create an even better day where we know the things that we want. And that is the experience, that's the common experience for both of those super extremes of narrowing down and whittling away the things that we don't want and growing the things that we do want. And I think that makes all the difference in the world when anyone has something nailed down where they're like, this is what I want. I want a better relationship, a better job. I want more money. Well, how much more money? I want $8,000 a month, every month, very easily coming into my life. I want, I want uh, a warmer home. What am I going to do to be moving forward into that? I can be complaining about everything that's not working and, this, that, the other thing, but then recognize, oh, I'm complaining about my drafty windows. I need to be investing in windows. I need to be investing in whatever, a better roof, insulation, where we can follow with awareness, we can learn from everything that's coming out of our mouth, everything that we have our perspective focused on, and understand. Sometimes we need feedback from other people about, like, do you hear yourself talking? Like you're you're talking about, the warmer home, and then you just like get lost in all these things that aren't working, which is the roadmap to in the with the right perspective, it's the roadmap to all the things that need to change so that you can have that intention. I want a warmer home. So that's like a very not emotional experience, I guess, with talking about a warmer home. But I keep leaning over towards my heater right here. So I guess that's on my mind. But that coming back to what it is that you want, I think is so important, and really nailing it down in the fact that it what you want can't be about what you don't want. So I don't want, you know, a drafty home. Well, then what do you want? I want a warmer home. I don't want, my heating bill to be this much money. So what do you want? I want to improve the efficiency of my home. So like
And I
developing
would,
that into the
uh,
positive.
sorry, yeah, I would
Yeah,
love
you
to even take this a step further to say when we're always chasing things on the external, that I want this warm home, I want this amount of money, when we think it's something outside of us,
right,
we're always going to be feeling like we're lacking. And then we seem to get that thing in the external world, and maybe it's provides some satisfaction for a temporary amount of time, but then that starts to fade. And then there's another thing that we want because that's going to make us happy. And then, we get that there, we spend so much time or we fight against what we don't want. And then we keep finding that it's not really the external things that make us happy. And I think this is the whole teaching of our continual searching in duality, that that external thing is going to make my internal
right,
happy. But really, this is the whole, when you look into a mirror, you expect the mirror to smile at you first. And it's like, no, we need to smile from the inside. We need to soften into what life has for us now. We need to see the nuance. We need to appreciate the nuance of our lives, that what we are, the more that we can appreciate, accept everything that we have as guiding us towards what we really want, which is an internal state. We want to feel the comfort, we want to feel the peace, we want to feel the love of our own being. expressed into our environment, expressed in our relationship, in our lives. So I think this is a great way to like bring in that awareness of nuance, that we can be driven by our external goals, but at the same time know that it's not the destination that's ultimately going to bring that inner state that we really are desiring.
That is such a beautiful point. And I think the that really quantifies where we're talking about like the good, the bad, the this, the that, where you're mentioning all that other stuff in between, where we can think that it's just this like I don't have this and I need this, I want this, it's this like thing, but it's when we think this is the final goal, we can get there and realize that like we're this far away from where we started and like what we thought was the goal, and like the emotional piece of it, like the inner self worth, or the feeling of purpose, or the internal healing is the thing that's on the other side of the journey, which I am giving the example of a warm home, but all those things that you're talking about really also apply to even those very physical things like that, where the that is like the basic need, but then recognizing um, how that fits into a bigger picture of what else could that be about, where um, the to me it brings in this, I can't even really have words for it, I guess it brings in that thought of like the food, shelter, and water, whatever, like those basic things, where the it brings in this big lesson to me of like the inside, well, like what are those, the nourishment for my heart, the nourishment for the shelter, the safety, that feeling of uh the awareness of those internal things. So I feel like I'm always going down the rabbit hole, but your point can be applied to even those the very basics. I guess that's the point of what I'm trying to talk about, and I love
Yeah,
that you brought that
like
up.
living in India, I know many people who do not have warm homes and yet are the warmest people that I've ever met. And one of the greatest lessons that I have taken, and maybe this can serve somebody watching, is when we think about our intentions, what we are our guiding force in life, to bring it even deeper into the center, from that external, from the warm home, from the job, from the external, and say, what is it that you deeply want to experience? And this is almost always going to come to some feeling, some essence. I want to be at peace. And so the most direct way to experience that in our outer world is to begin to embody it with exactly what you have now. And so this is the non-doing and the doing. This is the yin and the yang together in harmony, that I might be feeling cold right now, but can I feel my inner warmth? And then from that inner warmth, you might have an inspiration to whatever it might be to bring that into the external. But even with the example of abundance, we need to feel our own value first in order to resonate with the things in the external world that reflect that inner value. And the more that we are coming from not a space of lack, of I don't have this and I need to get it from somewhere outside of me, the more that we get reflected in our external world of that inner worth, of that inner abundance, that it's not something outside of us that we're seeking, and that the world is not here punishing us, but it's here providing, the most incredible people that I know, and I know in my own journey, that through the depths of my own suffering, my own struggle, the deepest roots of my humanity is where I've opened up to my greatest light, to my feeling of being in flow with things. That's all that's what I want, is to feel like I'm in the flow of life, because I've been through so many cycles, because this is part of the human experience. So I think getting past that idea, which is a duality, that you desire to be happy all the time or desire to be unchanging, that's actually not what we're here on earth to do, because it's not possible to be unchanging. You are going to change, and you're going to be born, and you're going to die. You're going to experience highs and lows. And so the more that we can accept all the different parts of our cycle, and know that we can access that place of peace, that place of abundance, even when we're at our low, or even just the awareness that this too is serving me, this too shall pass, that we don't get stuck in our mind of creating more suffering when we are only going to be happy when we have this external thing, because even that will fade.
Right. Yes. That was so beautiful. And you said exactly the words, and this is the value of having the conversation and back and forth, and the listening and the inspiration, which I feel like is such a valuable part of any culture. And I'm, talking about like I want a warmer home, and I was going down like the physical thing and like how, we can track all that. You brought up that internal thing, and then I thought, wow, that is really interesting, because even this example of a warm home can be be a spark of what we need to heal on the inside. And I don't know if you said this exactly, but that desire to be surrounded by warmth is can come from that awareness of, I need my home to be a little bit warmer, or this, that, the other thing, where there is a calling for something inside of me to be surrounded by more warmth, people, places, things, of course, the temperature of my home or whatever. But I think I think everything is here to teach us what is ready to heal inside of us. And it's very ethereal. I remember I had a very distinct experience, I would say like 20 something years ago, where I went to someone who practiced alternative healing. I don't remember. I know that she was a chiropractor. She did some other stuff. I don't remember if she was like a holistic medicine. I don't remember. But one of the first things I talked about was how I had this, I don't even know if it was like a wart or if it was like something, but there was this part on the bottom of my foot that was either like calloused. It was definitely like painful and uncomfortable. And I was like, it's in the same part of like the same area for both of my feet. And I'm like, I feel like it's telling me something. And she like literally like looked at me across like her glasses, and she was like, well, sometimes things, are just what they are. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I don't, I think there was a reason why, reflexology, acupressure, acupuncture, um, the zones of the feet. Like now I know all of those things, and there's more to learn. And I think I am a firm believer that the symptom is what it is for a reason. It's where it is for a reason. It could have been in our life for a long time, and we haven't noticed it until we get to this threshold of there's something inside that's ready to heal, ready to learn. Something has been let go of, something has reached that blooming point or the breaking point, where every moment is different. And you mentioned that like we're always changing. It's impossible to not change. And the effort that goes into not changing is this great place of awareness to think I can have all of that energy back if I just start allowing, if I just start recognizing, oh, I am getting older. Oh, I need this thing to be different. Oh, I need to be aware of my water intake. I need to be aware of the people that I engage in. It drains me faster. Or it inspires me quicker. Where
Mhm.
just understanding that that change is that, like, I believe, uh, these shifts in direction where we're supposed to be shifting in our direction. We're not, this like robot experience of like, I'm going this way, I'm going this way, where we're not meant to do that. We're meant to like that ebb and that flow and be with each moment, grow, shed, regrow. It's all part of that process.
Once we begin to see ourselves as growing in this process of nature and let go of some of the judgment of our process, because that's where we get into the ego mind. That's,
Mm.
you know, looking at other things outside and comparing ourselves all the time, when really there is absolutely no comparison, because there is no other being on earth that is your made up of your biology and your experience and your perspectives. That as we know that we are always doing the best that we can with what we've got in every moment, and again, it's just like soften into our experience, we can begin to see the nuance. So there's something that you said that was like really drawing this like nuance idea, which was your experience in the doctor saying, no, actually, you got that experience of contrast of like, no, you don't, sometimes things are just as it is. And that struck an awareness in you of this was speaking to me. So that was an incredible example of when like something outside of us shows like, no, it isn't that I have the answers within. And the beautiful nuance of this is also that sometimes we don't need to label our experiences. Sometimes that's the mind, our mind is coming in and saying, this is wrong because of that, or this person should have been this way. It's labeling something, or maybe we're going through some kind of growth that we don't even know the depth of this of what is changing and shifting inside of us. So maybe we can just be the observer of this experience. And then other times when we have that clarity, that insight coming through that tell us, that's our intuition saying, this is guiding me in this certain direction. I know there's something deeper. It's like only we can know the answer for ourselves at any moment. Only we can, you know, accept the depths of the nuance or the inspiration, and just to know that there's never just one way. I'm not sure if that like really made sense or what I was trying to express
Yeah,
with that.
it does make sense. And that I think that the awareness of, like you had mentioned, that intuition where I was really like very removed from, I feel like I'm very much in the thick of it of the alternative healing now. I was interested in receiving that alternative healing from other people, in this time way back when. And I felt like there was something like it was inside of me that I'm like, this is telling me something. And um, I also understood that I have this tendency, which still now, but I feel like I'm more aware of it, where I can be like the collector of information and then like not necessarily the doer. And that experience of when I mentioned that to this practitioner, and she was like, it was like this like hard no for her. I knew that I needed, like, I knew that it was like this thing of like, yes, there is something here. And yeah, I don't think it's like life changing, but I think that I need to know something about this symptom before my body can heal this symptom. And the it helped me, go down, open up more of the rabbit hole, dig that out. And then, now I'm like super far into it. But I remember that moment of um where her doubt like didn't take that spark away from me. And I think that's so important to listen to. And I don't think she was intentionally trying to like, this like uh her intention might have been all the better of just like stop worrying about it, like just it's beyond what we can explore in this our time together, where it was that place in me that was ready, that was like pushing me to make this connection. And walking around and there's like that little like rough spot, it was like my awareness is like on this thing, and there's more to it than just this thing. And I think it also primed my thinking for uh my body made this for a reason. My body is aware of this for a reason. I guess my mind is aware of something that my body is experiencing for a reason. And when I know the reason, then my body can heal the symptom, so it doesn't have to like talk to me anymore. And um yeah, for how long ago that was and how strange that was for my thinking, that it was very at that point I was very much in the thick of conventional medicine, which they just want to diagnose and no answers to anything, so we'll just like do more tests and diagnose you with something else. It was very strange for my thinking, and I feel so thankful that that communication was as loud as it was, or as persistent as it
Mm.
was. And um, I don't know why I don't even know why I'm still talking about it. So let's
Well,
move on.
it's sparking something in me, which is this actually one way to shift a perspective or add another perspective to this experience is that there's something in you that already knows
Mhm.
that it isn't actually, again, that big separation in time. Once I this is the nuance, right? It's like you're coming in time to understand the greater reason. But there's something in you that's already aware that this is here guiding you to some greater healing, to some greater awareness, some greater expression of yourself. And so this is like brings us back to our conversation last time about the ether, that all of the intelligence of the universe, all of the awareness of everything that once was, is, and will be exists in the here and now. And that story, at least to me, is reflecting the lesson, that powerful, powerful lesson to not rely on things and people outside of you for your own awareness. Yes, and at the same time, again, this nuance, we are tools, we are helpers, we are here to support ourselves in learning one way or another. So this just like reminds me of that, the power of coming inward, of trusting our own abilities, of, letting this be an intuitive, like, that response didn't feel quite right. Maybe this is leading me in another direction. And that's where we hit against another polarity of like, could I go down the rabbit hole of nobody understands me? Or can I see that this
Right,
is, I'm just learning to understand myself even better, and
right.
just keep letting it guide us on this, twisty road and path that is life.
Yeah, and there was definitely not, then that I think was is such a key point of like I was not invested in the stubbornness. I was not invested in the no one understands me, the woe is me. But it was like, it was kind of like, can't you hear that? Like, can't you hear that noise? Like, where it's like, maybe they couldn't hear that noise, and that's fine. It's a noise for me to hear. And it was so like both feet in the experience of curious and confident and um stepping forward into this place of like uh an unknown. There's this play, this ether part of the whole experience, like you're saying the ether thing again, where I think if it would have felt differently if and I am a very stubborn person. I'm a Taurus, like right in the middle of that sign of the bull, where I'm aware of my stubbornness. It was just so different. It was just so predominant. And you touched on that. It's like that intention that was behind it, the emotion that was behind it was so uplifting that it was easy to stay with it. And I think that is really, it was not draining me. It was
Mm.
it was guiding me. And I think that's an important thing to touch on.
Oh, so, and I love that you brought that back in, the like draining um or guiding, draining or uplifting. And this is something that I want to come back to when we talk about wellness, when we talk about our mental health, about going through the low parts of the cycle. And this is such an important part when we talk about the contrast, is being that we are here to feel what we're here to feel, and to allow ourselves the space to experience these depths of the human experience. That being human is so humbling. Like, it is painful. We degenerate, and it's also filled with magic. And so just to know that, to appreciate that truly being human is a humbling experience, and to allow ourselves the space to learn from the depths, to be in the depths, and that the nuance of knowing when it's that time to follow the momentum outward, that we are moving through it, that we're never stuck. Even if we've been experiencing the same thing for years and years and years, there's always a little flavor that's added with each day, with each experience, with each moment. Things are changing. And to allow ourselves the experience of the depth, to know that there in that experience is the greatest part of your light as well. And that's what's going to be, as we go through the emotion, there's no way around it. You can't go under it. You have to go through it. And through it is the light of the other side, where we can't see when we're in the depths of the tunnel. Like, I know, being in the depths where you want to give up, where it feels like nothing's ever going to change, that's it's just not true. It's not in line with the universal law. And we can know that even if we're feeling heavy, you might just need to sit with it a little more time. Give yourself a little bit more space, a little more time. How can you nurture yourself in the bottoms? Because I know at the end of, when I am at the lows, my brain is like, you should be up here. And that's not getting me anywhere. That's just
Right.
resisting this. So the more that I've gone through these cycles, the more that I can know when I'm at that low point, that I know that there's something on the other side for me. I know I'm learning something from this. I can't see it now, because when we're so in the ground, you can't see the light. But the light is always there. The light is what's going to pull us through. So honoring these extremes with the higher awareness that it's leading to some greater gift, that through the grief is an opening of your heart to more love, to more of it in the present now. Yeah, to just honoring our process, I think.
Honoring the process. And my favorite thing that I've heard, definitely at the top of my list, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. And of course, nothing is ever going to change if you're putting all the same ingredients. You start your day the same, you have the same morning, you have the same this, you have the same that, the same attitude, the same steps through the day, the same awareness, head down, in the sand, looking at the darkness, and not aware that there is light all around us. And changing those ingredients that we put in for that soup of the day is going to change how the soup of the day tastes. And so if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we're getting. And that awareness, that need for change, um, is so valuable. And I need to say that I need to get going because I got to get into sessions for the day. So I want to thank you for being here again and wishing you and everyone a happy new year full of change and growth and learning and wonderful magic. Um, and we're going to talk about how people can find your channel, find your, you had mentioned the website, and you have an Instagram, which is a great place for directing people. So I'm going to have you share that before we're done. And then also any other thoughts that you would have to finish out our conversation.
Just thank you, Sarah, again for a beautiful conversation filled with nuance. It's beautiful. I love the way that we provide totally different perspectives on, this heart of the matter. So I really appreciate that. And thank you to anyone that's here and watching. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram is just my name, Catie Freund, CATIE. My website is catiefreund.com, and then my YouTube, which is going to have lots of fun things coming in 2024, is conscious_Catie. So I'm so grateful for all the presence that is here and to all of the beautiful expansion that this year has to come, because I think for a lot of us it's drawing, we've been doing a lot of this inward journeying, and there's a lot of beauty to come in this year if we continue to open our eyes to it. So thank you for being conduit for this, and it's beautiful to talk to you again.
It's great to talk to you, and it's really fun to think that you're not far away. Like the other side of the world is still fairly close if we think of the whole universe, but now we're like both on the East Coast, so it feels like we were igniting our flame from one side of the world to the other, and now you're so close. I feel like there's this like flamethrower of love that we can throw out to everyone with our powers combined. Yay! So yeah, it's so fun to have this conversation. It's so enlightening, and I just love the perspective and just like bouncing the ideas off of each other, so that there's personal growth happening here for me as well, where having my moments and finding my new direction. And I cannot wait to do it again because I love talking with you. So we will be in touch about our next journey together. And I'll have your contact information in the description like we did last time. And I will share this with you as soon as I can, Catie. So you'll have that for your own resources. And Happy New Year to you,
Happy New Year.
everyone.
Thank you.
Yay! Let's record.